All right, what is up, everybody? We are back with another special guest. We've had two special guests this week, probably all-time high, ties it at least. But they've already been on the podcast once before, and we just had to bring them back on. That's the Mizzodcast. Thank you, Colin and Brendan, for coming back on. We really appreciate you guys coming.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, and for who's in here, we're gonna go off of what you guys voted. Your most favorite member on the podcast, me. Your second most favorite member, Jackson, and your least favorite, by far, and I mean by far, John.
Yeah, by a whole 2 votes.
Yeah, you're 11%. Oh wait, John, you voted.
Did I vote? I don't know.
All right. Anyway, let's just get right into it, guys. Mizzou football is almost right around the corner. I mean, what's the hype going around Mizzou football?
Well, I guess, SEC Media Days has just sort of come to a close. And I think it's been the most quiet SEC Media Days that I remember in the last few years. I think the talk about Mizzou's expected to finish, I guess, third in the East, which causes all the Tennessees and South Carolinas of the world to throw a hissy fit and bitch and moan because they want Mizzou to be 6th or 7th every year. But I think the hype is 100% Kelly Bryant. That's what everybody wants to see.
I don't know. I mean, I think part of it too is that we've got 3 returning linemen on the line, 2 of which are probably NFL talent. We have an NFL tight end. I think on the offensive side, and then we got a great running back tandem. And then the only real question on the offense to me is the wide receivers. And there seems to be talent there, but unproven talent.
Yeah. But I think the wide receivers are less crucial this year than in years past because Drew Lock's arm led the offense the last 3+ years. And, Kelly Bryant can run too. So he's going to bail out those receivers, even though they're young and untested.
Jackson, you got a question?
Yeah, I'll just say this. As a pretty big Mizzou fan, I think this matches up probably the easiest schedule we've had in the SEC yet. I mean, maybe the early SEC years when I was younger, but that I can remember. I mean, last year was brutal when that 3-week stretch of Georgia, Kentucky, and Alabama, I believe. But this year, I look at the schedule, and the only game that I think 100% we're going to lose is at Georgia. How do you guys see the record ending up at the end of the year?
I think the thing that makes me feel the most scared that the NCAA is going to uphold the bowl ban is the fact that we have a really favorable schedule and the way the gods have always struck Mizzou in the nuts. I could see us doing really, really well, having like a 10-win season, and then coming down that we're not going to be able to go to a bowl or postseason. That is just the Mizzou luck. But you're right; it is a really favorable season as far as matchups go. I mean, I feel like every other year Mizzou gets a pretty decent schedule because Georgia, we always have the year we play Georgia at home, we play all the other tough teams on the road, and vice versa. The year we play Georgia at home, or the year we play Georgia on the road, we have all the other tough teams in the East at home. And so, every other year, I think we have a pretty easy schedule, and then we got to play Georgia on the road. And then, of course, Ole Miss is not Alabama, and so
No.
And Arkansas is been just absolute garbage. So
Yeah, our West draw this year is great. I mean, we always get Arkansas, and they're a hot fucking garbage fire. And then you get Ole Miss, who is sort of a dumpster fire in their own right.
Just coming out of the bowl ban.
Yeah, Hugh Freeze, prostituted his
Vanderbilt.
way into screwing their program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He
Those
thought
are like 2 West teams.
He thought he was just screwing up Tampa Bay hooker, but he turned out to screw the entire Ole Miss program.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Efficient.
John, you got
Honestly, no, I'm looking at it like I don't think Kentucky's going to be as good as last year without Josh Allen and Benny Snell. Like,
Agreed.
This is like. But then again, Mizzou always does this shit where they should win, and then they just give you an absolute kick in the balls, and they just lose a game that they had the entire way, and it just fucks them at the end. And that's
Kentucky last year.
Oh,
for instance.
Don't even get me started.
Or South Carolina last year.
If we had this podcast going, we wouldn't have had an episode that night. I couldn't call myself.
No, that was a tough one to stomach. it kind of felt. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Gary Pinkel had a tradition where he was good for one game a year, just fucking blowing it up. And Barry Odom has continued that tradition thus far.
A proud Missouri tradition.
The loss to Indiana was one of the worst to me that we had to ever absorb. That was just absolutely fucking brutal. But every year there's a good one. And last year I think we had 3 at least, because people don't talk about it because it was Georgia, but Georgia was an incredibly winnable game, and the officials.
Oh hell yeah!
We fucked ourselves.
Oh yeah, we gave away about
Carolina?
14 points.
No, we gave away 14 points on one play where they.
Yeah.
Where
they dropped.
I would argue we played better versus Georgia than we did South Carolina. When
the storm hit.
That storm was bullshit. But the Georgia game, we came out playing pretty damn well, and that field goal should have been good. And then when they dropped the ball on the return, that's a big ass swing. And
don't forget the fumble that wasn't by Albert
forward progress.
That was crazy.
So obvious, yeah.
That was of all the bullshit calls in that game, and there were many. That was one that had me the most ready to drive to Athens and commit murder. But cooler heads prevailed. I just murdered a homeless person here at home to get my rage out.
As per usual.
Yeah.
Just an everyday thing.
I'm gonna ask this: let's just say they would have beat Georgia, do you think they would have beat Kentucky? We all know we would have got ran by Bama.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ifs and buts. That game. When they punted it and they ran it back for a touchdown, I was just like, oh well, we're losing this game. I didn't know how yet, but I just knew we were going to. But that's that game is a perfect to me. Analogy or an example of how Kelly Bryant, despite not being Drew Lock, might improve this team, because we couldn't get a first down. We couldn't get a first down in that game in the second half.
No.
And Kelly Bryant's going to pick up at least one first down with his legs in a half. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. We're going to burn a little more clock. I don't think we're ever in that position with Kelly Bryant. As strange as that is to say, with a quarterback who is playing in the NFL. But at least in those circumstances, Kelly Bryant is probably a better option.
And Barry Odom shit play calling.
Yeah,
can't discount that.
The pass at the end there, saving Kentucky a timeout. From 3 yards away from the first down, and you have good enough running backs. I don't understand that situation at all.
The only worst time management I saw that whole season was when we played Purdue, and thank God it was Purdue doing it.
Oh my God!
I was like, they just burned 40 seconds for no reason. Thank God for Purdue being awful.
Oh yeah.
The other play call that really pisses me off is the one versus Oklahoma State in the bowl game where we tried to run with Drew Lock on 4th down. That just.
Britton has made the analogy many times that Drew Lock running looked like Bambi on a pond of ice. He's slipping and sliding around.
I think you did bring that up last time you were on. Yeah, no, that's so damn funny.
Yeah, we've said it many times the thing is, they always talk about how athletic Drew Lock is. He's a big kid who played basketball, but he is timid when it comes to running the ball, and he just jelly legged.
Yeah, it looked like he was on roller skates every time. He's always stumbling and bumbling around like.
Yeah, just take the Brett Favre approach, and just stay back there. Don't run. Be Peyton Manning. Don't ever.
Well,
run.
The problem is that you got Heupel fucking calling design runs for him, and then now I didn't notice Dooley doing it as much as Heupel did, but still, it's like, quit running him. He is not a mobile quarterback.
Well, and I think the design runs were supposed to be like, hey, this guy is not a mobile quarterback. So when we call the design run, it's supposed to take the defense by surprise. But they did it every game. So it's like, well, your element of surprise is not there. So
that's
accurate. Here comes ice leg Bambi,
That's so fucking
See if you can tackle this guy.
Yeah.
That is so true.
And then it also doesn't help when he did scamper in, nearly trip, and get into the end zone. He kind of acted like he was Matty Mock trampling over that Minnesota player in the Citrus Bowl, where Matty Mock just trucked a guy and left a few of his brain cells on the end zone. Drew Lock never did that, but he kind of acted like he did,
John, do you have a question?
Not really a question, no. I haven't really thought of anything. This is just kind of
you are
going by.
And that's why John's in last place.
Yeah,
It's true.
exactly.
All right. I think this is debatable between all of us. What was a more heartbreaking loss last year? Losing to LSU up 14 in basketball with 2 minutes left, or losing to Kentucky?
That Kentucky by far.
Kentucky by far.
We had
Yeah,
something with football, but basketball.
That's true,
That's
but
just a win.
We didn't make the NIT in basketball last year. I don't know
That
if
is
you were
true.
aware of that.
Hansa said no. I ain't paying no 50,000.
I think if you agree, I think if you put it into context, yes, football. But if you just look at it as a single game, forget
that LSU game was a disaster. Make no mistake. I mean, that was
It was
a
brutal.
It came
I
down
was
to
at that game.
it came down to that. It was a miracle we got it to overtime.
As far as things that are hard to watch, it can only be equated with child pornography. It is awful, and the time management. We have no point guard. I don't know why everybody shouldn't press us the entire game from start to finish. Every team we played, like nobody could dribble. It was sad.
Yeah, I mean it does compare to Kentucky in that way, and just the
And child pornography.
And child pornography, I suppose, in the utter ineptitude. Because we, like Colin said earlier, we couldn't get a first. A lot of times we're like, boy, if we'd only scored a field goal or a touchdown in that second half, we didn't get a first fucking down. A first down, which is the most basic thing one does when your offense is trying to have success. And it's like one first down would have won us that fucking game. And it's like Colin said in the LSU game, if one human being wearing a Mizzou uniform could dribble a basketball, the most basic fucking thing, then we could have won the game. And it's just like, what the fuck is happening here?
I miss Cassius Robertson.
Yo, no God, we all miss him.
I'd rather have that
I knew we were gonna miss
we
him.
had in the tournament than that team we had last year.
Yeah.
Oh dear God, I don't know, man. Jordan Geis was so bad his junior year.
We had Jordan Geis. He's both years. At least we made it to the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who cares that we made it?
We got to get dicked by Florida State.
We lost in the first round of the SEC tournament, and then we lost in the first round of the NCAA
that was...
tournament. We might as well not even have been there. I mean, and the fact is,
we almost
the
blew
next
it because
year,
we
were
ended on
much
that
worse.
season.
Yeah, well, I think people forget last year that the year before we weren't that good. We were a one and done team the year before, and we got significantly worse with the players we lost. So, like, I had zero hopes going into last year, so I never felt bad.
We didn't have Jonte, and the first year we lost Michael immediately because both of them are apparently as sturdy as the soft spot on an infant's head. And I mean, it's just like we cannot get these guys healthy. And that was so frustrating to me. Like I found myself like when Michael Porter Jr. got, agreed to come to Mizzou, I was over the moon. And by the end of the season, and probably to no fault of his own, I was so mad at him just for being like. Mostly because of all the fucking cryptic like Instagram posts like of shoes and him doing things like I'm definitely coming back, guys, or maybe I'm not. Or wait, maybe I am. Who knows? It's like just say yes or no, you dickhead. Quit jerking us around.
I mean, even if he had come back though,
like
he would have found a way.
He said like February 13th, and everyone's like, okay, that's the day he's coming back, but it just turned out to be the day that the shoe was being released.
Yeah, that.
Oh. Yeah, but the point is like, why are you having to explain your Instagram post?
Yeah, no.
Josh sucks Michael Porter's
suck
dick.
them off. I do not.
Yes, you do.
I do not. I just have high hopes.
No,
I have high hopes.
He said last year.
I have high hopes. I have high hopes.
He said last year if Denver had Michael Porter, they could have gone to the finals.
I can not.
If Grandma had nuts, she'd been Grandpa.
All right, let's go back to football. Drew Lock, second round. How big of a surprise was that to you guys?
Are you saying like he should have been drafted first round, or like that was too early? No, I didn't think so. I mean, like I pay way too much attention to the NFL, and I knew by the time the draft came around, like he had slid on most people's draft boards. And truthfully, I love Drew Lock. He's a Tiger, but like I don't expect him to have NFL success. He reminds me of Blaine Gabbert more than he does Chase Daniel. I'm not trying to bash the guy, but I'm like. Drew Lock has a fantastic arm, and that's where the list of attributes ends. So, I mean, like, I like the kid, but
Bambi leagues.
Well, yeah. What is he going to do? I mean, he's not mobile, that's for sure. I feel like everything's going to be too fast for him. I feel like I don't see it for Drew, and I hope to God I'm wrong. I hope
that's why he's battling just for the second shot.
I hope you're
Nothing
right.
would make me happier than for him to win every game except when he plays the Chiefs. You know what I mean? Like that would tickle me to death, but it's not going to happen.
Well, John Elway's known for his quarterback success.
Yeah, fucking Peyton Manning chose the Broncos, not the other way around. And then since then, let's see, he's brought in that 6'10" fucking Frankenstein monster, Osweiler or whatever the fuck his name is, and then they got,
Paxton Lynch.
Flacco.
They brought in Flacco, the ultimate Frankenstein monster. He literally has bolts in his neck. And then what? They had Case Keenum, or was it Keenum?
Yeah.
Who was
Yeah,
Didn't
last
one
year.
of them rob somebody's house because he was drunk?
That was Chad Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was an awful trash bag.
Shit.
Yeah,
Honestly, I think the
Elway's
best
legacy.
quarterback Elway's drafted is Tebow. Like that.
Jesus, imagine that.
I mean, but I can't think of a Kyle fucking Orton. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
Getting
putting
paid-
above Tebow.
I don't know, man. Tebow's magical bullshit
Did he
season.
draft Cutler?
No,
I
he
think he
wasn't
inherited
back then.
Cutler.
Cutler
Yeah, I think he
still
inherited.
sucks,
No,
Well,
the first
Cutler was all right
quarterback
for
he
the
drafted was
Broncos.
Tebow, because
Yeah.
he hired Josh
I'd
McDaniels
say-
as the head coach, and then they drafted Tebow. That was John Elway's first year as the GM.
I tell you, I think
Jesus.
not as big as a prick, but I kind of see the correlation between Drew Lock and Jay Cutler. It's kind of like they both have big arms, but kind of can't move and don't really do much with it other than like half the time maybe a receiver will go down the field and make a play.
Well,
One-
if Drew Lock turns out to be Jay
Oh,
Cutler,
my
then
God.
they'd regret using a
Sorry.
second-round pick on him.
I mean, I
have
don't
a
know.
question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, the Denver head coach, I guess, was it yesterday, came out and said some pretty
Oh yeah.
stark things about Drew Lock, and for me, Drew Lock, he's either ready or he's not. I can't tell you. I'm not an NFL coach, but he kind of shit on Mizzou's program in the way I looked at the statements. I mean, he said
That coach is offense
Drew Lock
only.
was under duress a lot. They didn't run a pro
defense.
style offense, and I don't think any of that's true. I'm not going to. He's not right about his assessment of Drew Lock, but Drew Lock was not under duress. The offensive.
Well, I mean, what's he going to say though? What I read from that is like Drew Lock is not developing quickly because he's not as good as we thought he was, and I'm not going to admit on microphone that I'm bad at coaching him and developing him. So I'm just going to blame Mizzou. I mean, that's the easy thing to do. That happens every year. I mean, we
that's the
know
easy
about it
way
this year
out.
because it's Drew Lock, but they
I mean, I guarantee you they
All the
blamed
time to
Memphis
cover
for
draft
Paxton
picks.
Lynch,
To me-
and yeah.
Yeah, this is that to me is the first early warning sign that Drew Lock. Like I said again, I hope I'm wrong, but
Yeah, I mean, their head coach is like a defensive guru, so I don't really know what
Spent
he knows.
17 years with Baltimore. Probably he's not dead, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he literally just was on the same. I mean, he was on the team with Mitchell Trubisky, so if it's that bad, then it's a problem.
All right.
Yeah.
So another question is, out of the past 3-4 years, who do you think was the best drafted player? I guess you can say they can be undrafted too, but who do you think has been the best player to come out of Mizzou and had the best impact in the NFL?
Colin, why don't you go first? You're the NFL guy.
you guys were cutting out really hard there. I didn't get that question. I just heard who was the best draft, and that was about it.
Who's the best NFL player from Mizzou in the last few years?
NFL player. I mean, it depends on how far you're going to go back. I mean, Justin Smith is obviously. He had sustained Pro Bowl level success as a defensive end. And this makes me so mad about Smith. What's his first name? Gosh darn it. Alden Smith. I mean, Alden Smith was every bit as good as Smith, but that's not me bagging on Smith. That's just saying how good Alden was.
Justin Smith and Alden Smith.
Justin Smith, yeah. So I'm saying Justin was, and he was just such an idiot. But I would say Justin Smith, if you want to go back that far.
Well, I think Macklin obviously was a successful offensive player as well.
Mhm.
I think he could have. It's interesting that he's retiring because I think he's got years in him, but these guys are looking at their careers differently than they used to. And then I think most recently Marcus Golden came out of the gate strong.
Yes, he did. He played. He made the all rookie team his first year out.
Mm-hmm.
EJ Gaines and Weatherspoon both had good careers until injuries derailed them. They were starting, teetering on Pro Bowl level players when
And then
injuries
Washington
kinda caught
had
up
the
to
most
them.
potential too that didn't go anywhere because of injury.
Well, his
Brandon,
knees
is
are
it you that hates the NFL draft?
I do. I wouldn't say I hate it. I just have no interest in it because I'll tell you why. Because guys like Johnny Manziel and Tim Tebow are drafted high, and then they do what they do, and then these guys that are go undrafted or drafted in the 5th or 6th round become the next year's, within 3 years are the best players in the league. I feel like there's no rhyme, reason. Everybody acts like there's this real science to it, and I feel like it is an utter fucking crapshoot. Who's going to be good and who's going to be bad? And all these guys who are supposed to be fucking experts, these Mel Kiper types, they don't know anything, and they're always fucking wrong. And so, what's the fucking point of watching it?
Well, I disagree with that. So, everybody knows about the heroes like the Romos and the Warners, and everybody knows about the duds of the Tebows and the fucking Manziels. But there is a science to it. I think they get it right more than they get it wrong. But I agree. I think why it's hard to watch sometimes is like, I think anybody in the Big 12 who wasn't a fucking frat boy Chad knew that Johnny Manziel was a fucking walking disaster. You know what I mean? Like, he's just he runs around, he slings it around, he's playing college football. And unless you get off on his sort of brand of dickery, you didn't think he was cool. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he was like a phenomenon. Like, where he was.
Tebow was a phenomenon in the other direction. The people who,
the Christians
make sure their daughters didn't change underwear until they were 19 years old.
So exactly, and then I think everybody wanted to like Tebow because he was such a virtuous individual. But anybody who looked at his throwing motion knew he was going to be hot garbage at the NFL. And Johnny Manziel was just had nothing between his ears, and he really didn't throw the football that well. He wasn't accurate anyway. He had a decent arm, but
no, he was a slightly more successful Matty Mock.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. He was
he made
pretty apt
to the draft.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say he was Matty Mock without the cocaine, but that's probably not true.
No, I was gonna say he was just a cocaine. Manziel was a cocaine-fueled lunatic that didn't get caught. Matty Mock was a cocaine-fueled lunatic who got caught.
He's with Jesus.
That's Tebow.
That's Tebow.
Oh,
Josh.
You said Manziel. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, were you guys?
Jesus, less known for the cocaine.
Yeah. Even if you're not watching the NFL draft, it kind of shocked me that Emmanuel Hall didn't get drafted. What about you guys?
I am also as shocked. I watch the NFL draft religiously, and I was surprised.
The only reason I don't see him getting drafted is how much he was out for this year with that hamstring or calf injury.
I guess that's the thing I can figure because what's his name? Our receiver that had hands made of stone. Jamon Moore.
Yeah, Moore.
Oh, dear God.
I'm just like, Jamon Moore is not as good as a receiver.
He got picked in the 4th.
Yeah, but you know what? One thing for Jamon Moore is Jamon Moore was a physical specimen, so everybody just looks at that and falls in love with it.
Yeah.
And but like I said, if you've watched any Mizzou football game, he was a 50-50 proposition at catching the ball, which is pretty bad when you're a receiver. If you're a lineman, that might be okay, but
yeah. No, I will say this too, for somebody who doesn't love the draft. I think a lot of fans watch the draft and they think of it as the award for who's the best player in college football. And it is, I understand, it is not that. It is what player we need at what position for our team. And so last year was definitely a draft season that if you were a defensive player, more teams were interested in you. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like it isn't a reward for being good at college football. It is to fill holes in their team. And so,
and it's also about physicality. Me and Brendan talked about how Shane Ray and Marcus Golden, Marcus Golden's arms were, an inch and a third too short by scouts measurements.
Right.
And they made him sound like he was a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And he didn't get drafted in the 2nd round. And then Shane Ray has all these attributes that they want, but he's got a 5-cent head on his shoulders and ends up. And Denver didn't pick up his option off his rookie contract because he wasn't very good. Meanwhile, Golden has been quite successful.
And I think if you could watch Marcus Golden rip the football away from the Oklahoma State quarterback in the Cotton Bowl, you know immediately that he has got an immeasurable skill in that he just has like a
immeasurable skill that Shane Ray doesn't have either.
Yeah. But it's not a metric that you can use to pick a player. But when you see that sort of like shark smelling blood mentality that he's got, you want that on your team.
Yeah.
You just can't measure his arms.
His arms are an inch and 3/4 too short. His arms are an inch and 3. You can't get over that.
No, a lot of football scouts can't.
But, I tell you, the guy that out of Mizzou I think I was the most wrong about was Coney Ealy. I thought that dude was going to be a stud.
Yeah, I don't remember being high or low necessarily on it, but I did think he would play.
I mean,
I thought he'd be good too.
I haven't heard of the guy.
Yeah, he was so much
Years.
better than Michael Sam,
Yeah.
And then of course we know what happened with Michael Sam or what didn't happen with him. But I thought Ely would have more success than he did too. And part of that was just that he was coming off that recent string of guys who just couldn't fail, at Mizzou in that D-line Zoo situation.
Yeah.
And I thought he was just another one of them. But I'll tell you, I'm circling back to Manuel Hall. I don't know if I was more upset for him or for the certain Mizzou guys that cover the team who got to eat popcorn and drink Coca-Colas at his house during draft night. We're really excited to write a story about Emmanuel Hall getting drafted, and then didn't get to write that story on their pay for blog. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, or if I'm talking about anybody in specific. I may not be, but a certain guy was sitting at that house waiting to write that story, and it didn't get to happen. I feel really bad for him.
I think I'm. Okay, so do you think Emmanuel Hall has the potential though to be a decent wide receiver, like an everyday starter for an NFL team?
No, and not because of his talent. I mean, not because. I mean, once you're buried on the depth chart, I mean, you've got to do some things to be.
Yeah.
His way onto a roster at this point now is as a special teams gunner.
Mm-hmm.
And if he sticks around long enough on special teams, maybe he gets a shot because of injury to actually get some time on the field during snaps. But I don't know, especially at the wide receiver position. I mean, it is hard to make an impact. It's part of the reason wide receivers are such divas. They spend their entire career waving the arms, praying that someone will pay attention to them and throw them the ball. It's so that's why there's so many of those position people who play wide receiver seem like such jackasses, because they literally, from the time they're in Pop Warner, they're screaming at somebody to let them have an opportunity.
Yeah.
And now if you're lucky, you're the fucking string wide receiver. You're not even you're the first string guy screaming his head off to get the ball. You're the fourth string guy. They're not even gonna look in your direction unless shit has completely broken.
I think that's totally true because, I mean, you get so few chances in the NFL, and you get one shot your way, and if you don't catch it, well, guess what? You don't ever get another shot again. You know what I mean?
And even if they do catch it, I mean, you can, like, Byron Pringle was this guy from the Chiefs who had this all-world, preseason, and he doesn't even make the fucking final roster.
He actually got hurt last minute.
But the point remains is that those guys.
I got you though.
Every year, every team in the NFL has some guy that just explodes in the preseason who either gets sit in the practice squad or just it's basically because somebody's job is tied to a draft pick. So like Jamon Moore, he was drafted in the 4th round. So the GM of that team's nuts are on the line if he doesn't succeed. Now, if he's an undrafted free agent like Emmanuel Hall, fuck that guy. I don't care if he succeeds or not. You know what I mean? Like, ultimately,
True. That's true.
I hope he pans out because it looks good for me, but I pissed away a draft pick on that guy, so he's going to get a lot more opportunities than this afterthought.
No, that's true.
I mean, a lot of guys out there.
I mean, there's been better receivers recently to come out that haven't had. Like, I thought Dorial Green Beckham was better than Emmanuel Hall, and same with Marcus Lucas.
He was. Dorial Green Beckham was a.
That's why he was ranked
1A top level prospect.
Yeah.
He just had hamburger brain should be. That's his problem.
Yeah, he was dumb as hell.
John,
Continues to be. I think he got arrested a couple months ago.
He does. He loves drugs and alcohol and fast women, and I appreciate that because I love all those things myself. But I'm not an NFL prospect.
Yeah. Who's that one guy on the Cowboys that won't play in the NFL because he wants to smoke weed? Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
I remember that story.
Ricky Williams basically gave it up.
Yeah, I saw that.
so I mean,
John,
they're gonna have to eventually just chill out on the fucking dope and let these guys smoke.
John,
that's a whole different conversation. But in 10 years, it's everybody's gonna be. It's gonna be legal everywhere. There's just too much.
Yeah, here's some breaking news. College football players and NFL players like to smoke pot.
Facts.
It's
I thought you
and do podcasters.
Yeah, occasionally they've been known to.
Okay, so didn't Mizzou earlier this week have something to do with the ban? I thought there was an.
Oh yeah. So the chancellor and athletic director had their opportunity to speak in front of the board and the NCAA to make their their case, and it was the only thing that really came out of it. I mean, it's sort of there's nothing really newsworthy because everybody knows what we're going to say. We're going to say it's not a fair ban. It doesn't match anything else that you guys have ever done. We cooperated, and so if you hit us over the head, no one will ever cooperate with you again. So what the fuck are you guys doing? So I mean, I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, no, you're right though.
But and then so the NCAA will write that down that happened, and then they've got a certain number of days to then I think it's like 3 or 4 weeks. Well, I shouldn't say it's 3 or 4 weeks. It could be at least 3 or 4 weeks, but Ole Miss had to wait for months and months. The season was over before they knew what was going to happen with their appeal. And so we don't know. I mean, I feel like what's going to happen is we're going to have a fucking great season, and then halfway through, the NCAA is going to fly over and take a big fat dump on us.
Yeah, we're going to be like 7-0 or 8-0 by the time we go to Georgia.
No, we're going to beat Georgia. We're going to beat Georgia.
Yeah.
4 days later, we have not.
Yeah.
We did
like a pterodactyl flying over Faroe Field.
We're gonna beat Georgia. They're gonna put us in the top 4. Everyone in Missouri is gonna go fucking crazy, and then they're gonna say we're ineligible.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. We're gonna be ranked 10th in the nation. Georgia's gonna be ranked 2nd in the nation. We're gonna beat Georgia. We're gonna jump up into the top 4, and the next week they're gonna be like, "Sorry, no postseason."
Well, to contrast that too, we would lose to Wyoming, and then they'll tell us, "Oh yeah, we reversed the ban. You guys can play." Like our whole team will get injured. We'll win 6 games. We'll go to the Liberty Bowl or some crap like that.
Yeah,
right.
Oh man, I just can't get enough of Shreveport. I hope that comes true.
How shocked were you guys with no players even entering the transfer portal?
I think Barry Odom is I think he's a good motivator. Sometimes I don't know that I would, count him among the great minds of X's and O's based on some of his game day decisions. But I think Barry Odom is one of those guys who creates an environment where everybody's ready to eat glass. And I think what is also lost in this is that most of the people trying to take our players were Tennessee, who suck. And despite what Tennessee fans may think, like they suck. And so when you're, I mean, if the team calling you to transfer is Michigan or Texas A&M, who looks to be really good this year, you might listen. But it's Tennessee. You're like, oh, then these guys get fucking slapped, fucking 51-17 by the team that I'm currently playing on.
Yeah. And
I mean,
like Kelly Bryant, people were talking about him transferring. It's like, no, you don't got to understand. Kelly Bryant doesn't care whether Mizzou makes a bowl game or not for his own career's sake. For his own career, he just wants minutes and minutes on television, which being on an SEC team provides. And so whether we make a bowl or not, if Kelly Bryant is starting and playing well for the Tigers on the SEC network, ESPN or ABC or CBS, his draft prospects go up. And that's the real end of the line for Kelly Bryant. So, he's not going to just enter a transfer portal and do it all over again when he's really still got the same situation before.
Yeah, he walks into Mizzou as the undisputed starter. And he gets to be on national television week in and week out.
I could definitely see that Georgia game being College Game Day if we're both undefeated going into that.
Well, and I mean, not only that for Kelly Bryant. I mean, like, not just is Mizzou going to be on television constantly, but at least from an offensive standpoint, you couldn't walk into a better situation. I mean, Roundtree and Beatty are legit. Alberto is Sunday talent. Three linemen returning, 2 of which are Sunday talent. And you got 2 more coming in who are seasoned. I mean, if Knox or any of these other wide receivers like step up at all and give him somebody to throw to, I mean, it's gonna be a great offense. And like I said, I don't think that his dad or Mizzou, when they recruited him, didn't tell him, hey, by the way, our fucking schedule is a cupcake this year too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I think
he's okay playing Wyoming.
He also called out that one account saying he has to walk to Wyoming to watch him play.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that. And he brought that kid from
Ms.
Arkansas
Chris
too.
guy, yeah.
There's some guy eating Doritos who made that tweet like 40 months ago, and it's like, holy shit! Like I'm the guy.
I'm that
Kelly's talking about. And guess what? That lard ass isn't walking to Wyoming.
Someone said he should just get in a treadmill and someone go and put it on the back of a truck, and the truck goes 70 miles per hour, but he just walks on the treadmill because.
Or he just does nothing at all. I mean, ultimately that's what he'll do and what he should. He'll be like, it was a stupid tweet. I shouldn't have made it. Oh well.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, going off that transfer shit, like Kelly Bryant wasn't like, I'm pretty sure like Arkansas was one of the teams that like was heavily favored.
Yeah, but Arkansas is the same way as Tennessee.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Arkansas is terrible. I think the only school I was scared of that would steal on was Auburn.
Yeah, but the problem with Auburn is that he's got to compete for the job.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he doesn't want to do. So,
Right.
They also had a
not only that,
last-minute
Auburn
meeting.
is not a juggernaut this year. I mean, if you've written about, I mean, it is not as if they're no. Basically, Auburn, if at their best, is going to be Mizzou. That's the best they can hope for, and then they got to go fucking do it in the West.
yeah.
Why would you go to Auburn? Competition, Alabama, LSU, A&M, like that. I'm not.
And you look at it like the history of quarterbacks drafted, like Mizzou, even if they don't become good in the pros, they've had Luck, Gabbert, Dan. I mean, Mock probably could have gotten picked late if he wasn't on the drugs. We've had good quarterbacks come out. We've had, the success. When you look at Auburn, I mean, who the hell have they? Cam Newton a while ago, but like, who was that fucker on the team that lost the national championship? I mean, that guy never became shit. And then like Arkansas, Ryan Mallett. I mean, there's nothing there.
No,
Mizzou threads the needle because, like I said, Arkansas and Tennessee are trash. Auburn you have to compete for the job, and they've got to fight in the West, and likely aren't going to do that well. Mizzou is pretty good and has an easy schedule. It's an easy pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're using your brain, go there. It is the best opportunity for you to look good personally, and I think that's what people don't realize. They're like, "Oh, yeah, Mizzou."
Well, and I really do. I think Missouri fans, because we have downtrodden in ways for so long, are as pragmatic of fans as you will find. Like every year, Arkansas fans think their team's going to be good, and every year, Tennessee fans think their team is going to win the national championship. And if you talk to Mizzou fans, they're like, well, everybody says we should win 9 games. We'll probably win 6. You know what I mean? Like, we are very realistic about who we are.
We win 8, and we're absolutely psyched. So it's not exactly.
When we say Kelly Bryant made a good decision coming to Mizzou, I feel like it's a genuine, like, we are looking at it objectively, and it all makes sense. Whereas Auburn's like, how could he go to Mizzou? Because you guys are in the West, and he's going to compete for the job, and you suck right now.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you're Auburn. You're not going to suck forever, but you do right now. And Tennessee is a fucking hot mess and has been for near on a decade. Like, sorry, guys. I know that you won a national championship back before my grandfather was, but, Peyton Manning is fucking retired and has been for a good little while. The guy can't even move his neck anymore. That's the last time you guys won a national championship. So I'm sick of hearing about how great you are.
That's true.
Hot garbage, and Mizzou has owned your ass. So
51-17.
Yeah, fucking right.
In Tennessee, just to add that, I mean, holy
shit. The greatest
shit.
thing about watching that game is how the fucking stadium was just empty after the first quarter. Just like
I felt the same
way.
Town. I felt the same way about the Swamp because that guy had come to Mizzou the year before and said, it's so quiet over at Columbia. I don't like playing there. And then we quieted the hell out of the Swamp.
Yeah, that was a big-ass win because that was after, like, the most depressing week of Mizzou football in a while.
Yeah. And nobody had to save fucking Barry Odom's job as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, that game was huge, and they played motivated as hell that game.
Won.
I mean, I'd say this. I was thinking about this. How many quarterbacks would you put above Kelly Bryant in the SEC? East and West.
At least one.
I would say Tua's better.
Yes.
Tua.
For sure.
I would say Jake Fromm's probably better.
Yes, Fromm's better. Better.
He's a much different type of quarterback. I'll say that.
Yes.
He's in a better situation, but I mean Georgia always has a fucking beast at running back. So
I think the point you're making remains though in that he is top 3, 4, 5.
That's what I'm trying to.
And so, like, Mizzou's in a great position with the Kelly Bryant. And truthfully, like, I get it, man. Drew Lock was great. And you know what? These big arm statue quarterbacks are great. And they can win you a lot of ball games. But the way college football played, I would almost rather have a running back.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a better thing to be. Like, in the NFL, that is not true. In the NFL, you'll fucking die doing that shit.
But look at Lamar Jackson.
Look at Lamar Jackson, the only team that played him twice.
No, what I'm saying, I'm not even saying he was good in the pros. I think Lamar Jackson's a terrible quarterback. But at Louisville, they had some good success, and then the year he leaves, they go 2-10. I mean,
it's Manziel is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
And the problem is like everybody loves to talk about Lamar Jackson now because he is an exciting player to watch. But Robert Griffin, and so is Colin Kaepernick, and these fucking guys disappear. Because everybody in the NFL is a fucking sledgehammer. You know what I mean? Like there's everybody. You're going to die if you run around out there.
Well, and Cam Newton is the exception because he's a giant human.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson because he's been able to adapt and pass in the pocket.
And
they protected him well.
But when you see teams, or when you see these guys that once their first read is gone, they shit their pants and run up the middle. they never succeed long term ever.
No, but in college, I'd rather have it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And people, and I may eat my fucking words, eat shit the bed this year, but I'm like, give me Kelly Bryant. And I haven't seen the kid play yet. But I'm not talking about
he
them.
hasn't played for.
Well, my thing is, I'm
year.
not talking about as individuals. Like Drew Lock is definitely worse than Kelly Bryant or vice versa. I'm saying give me a running quarterback who can throw a little over the big arm statue in college football.
I mean, basically all the great college football quarterbacks that like have great college careers are good at running the football too. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Drew Lock, as you said, I mean, even though he played multiple sports in high school, looked like a fucking idiot running the ball. So
Tim Tebow couldn't throw a cum-soaked fucking Kleenex into a trash can across the dorm room. I mean, but he's one of the best college football quarterbacks.
He really is. And same with Manziel. Manziel was a fucking animal.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll never forget that game. They came up here. We were trying to clinch the SEC East. It took Henry Josie's like that hype ass run, but they played us tough.
All right, I want to take a little break. I want to ask you if this is okay. Can we do one little segment of Kansas news?
Well, sure. If you guys have got Kansas news,
I have Kansas news, and this is
good.
Kansas priest is charged with possessing child pornography.
Wow, we looped it all back, didn't we? We knew that was coming.
I knew that was what you call a callback.
That's called foreshadowing.
So basically, Kansas priest was caught with film of Mizzou versus Kentucky or LSU.
I think you gotta. It's Kansas, guys. So that is a story in most states, but in Kansas, I feel like most priests use child pornography as the bookmarker in their Bible. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna stop reading right here. Where's that picture of that little kid's dick?
Yeah. Pretty common stuff.
Oh my god.
And before you get into the story, I'm going to tell you this. When we pick Kansas news for our show, we tend to stay away from the child pornography stories and the fucked a dog stories or the murdered your spouse stories because they're just, A, they're too commonplace that they're not really news, and B, they're just so sad. You know, we kind of want to laugh at Kansas. We don't want to cry because Kansas exists, you know. But that being said, you know, you hit it one right nail on the head with this story.
Yeah, I'm just looking. There's not much going on.
Hey, I mean, I love it that because I know some Kansas fans personally living in Kansas City. You know, they're all cocksuckers, but they think that Les Miles is going to save their fucking franchise.
Yeah, let's talk about that 18-part series.
We're gonna win 8 games. The Big 12, we're gonna win it. I'm like, you guys won't win jack shit for another decade.
No, he's Charlie Weiss 2.0 without the fucking hover around chair.
18-part series on ESPN
Without the diabetes.
Plus. I'd rather watch it paint dry on a wall than that.
Well, let me tell you something about Les Miles. It's like Les Miles was a Mad Hatter. He's called that because ultimately he won a lot of games, but they called him the Mad Hatter because he made stupid coaching decisions, and they just fucking lucked out because they had talent.
Yeah,
like,
they won in spite of Les Miles.
Well, and he's the only guy with like a national championship win with 2 losses. Like whoop-de-doo. And my thing is like, time.
He's not going to have that talent to make up for his Mad Hattery at Kansas.
No.
And by this point, like every time I see him, I'm going to tell you my pet peeve with Les Miles is like Les Miles is a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
So Les Miles can afford to go to a hair salon and get his hair dyed by a professional. And yet he still does the fucking Grecian formula, old man orange hair. Do you ever guys, like, he has obviously got white hair that he's trying to dye himself. His wife is doing in the sink at home. And every time I see him on the sideline, he's got this sort of that, you can always tell when those old men dye their hair. It's like almost, it's supposed to be brown, but almost has like an orange hue.
Yes.
It just drives me crazy. Like, get a fucking professional. Get your hair dyed, you jackass.
Also, we live in a world where people don't care if old men have gray hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's accurate.
And he fucking wears a ball cap every game, so it's not like we're going to see it.
Yeah.
It's just...
There's a lot to not like about Les Miles.
I didn't like Les Miles previously, but then when he chose to go to Kansas, that just puts the icing on the cake.
I kind of like the decision. It makes hating Kansas all that much easier. And, like 5 or 6 months ago, I'll say this. He made a video on the Kansas Athletics Twitter account with Bill Self, and it was the most awkward, creepy, disturbing, stilted, poorly acted video. I mean, the child pornography on that Kansas priest computer had a better narrative than this Kansas Athletics video.
Oh.
No, have you guys seen the conversation Les Miles has on the phone with Rick Ross? Have you guys seen that?
I don't think I have.
He's like, you're coming to this night, right? Like, it's some like shit at KU that they do. It's like coming to perform. You can tell like Rick Ross is so fucking uncomfortable. He's like, you are the cringiest white guy I have ever spoken to. Like, get off the phone. But at the same time, Rick Ross is on like acid or some shit, and he can't even pay attention.
Rick Ross Rick Ross. He looks at Miles and knows that guy's used color in his life several times. You know what I mean? He's like, I don't want to be around this old white dickhead.
My question is, Rick Ross. I mean, he's so relevant. Was MC Hammer not available?
Oh God, that's a burn. No. While they're at it, they should have they should have gone and fucking got Soulja Boy or some shit.
Mm.
Hey, Soulja Boy had a little bit of a comeback though. That's better than Rick Ross.
I'm surprised Rick Ross is honestly not dead. I didn't know he's even.
Yeah, Rick Ross. If he doesn't lose that weight, I mean, Jesus
well, I was going to
Christ.
say, we were talking about the type 2 diabetes that Charlie Weiss had. Well, maybe Les Miles was trying to.
I just assumed like probably 5 or 6 years ago, Rick Ross's heart exploded, and that was the end of him.
I mean, it's honestly Gucci Mane, but Gucci Mane lost the weight, so it's like. But before that, I really couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah, that's really about all the Kansas news. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about KU. There's not much to talk about with them until they choke in March Madness.
Oh, they're gonna lose.
All their fans last year, this was the one thing that got on my nerves. All their fans that I'm friends with, which makes me question my friendships, but they were like, oh my God, we're so shit this year. I'm like, you have no idea how much I would fucking do to have a season as good as this. Like, to get to the round of 32 to win.
For basketball.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm like, you have no idea how much it would mean to me if Mizzou won a game in the tournament, regardless if it was like Norfolk State or like a shitty school. Like, it would mean the world to me.
Hey, it'd be great if it was Norfolk State. It means we were fucking high
Norfolk State.
Yeah.
I'm saying though, because they're like, I forgot who KU beat.
Well, you got to take into consideration they know how much they've paid these athletes to play basketball there. They expect a better product on the field for the money they put into it.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're buying them a house, then shit.
If you're buying them a car and they wreck it the next day.
Yeah, you buy them a house and band for their family.
Which one of their players had wrecked a car?
Billy
Preston. For some reason,
John can get on all about this.
Who owned the car?
For months, they couldn't figure out who owned this car. Like, is there not a title? Like, how does nobody know who owned the car that this basketball player just wrecked? Like, I find that highly specious.
Here's the crazy thing. Kansas had the same problem when Wilt Chamberlain, somehow a poor kid out of Philadelphia, ended up with like a convertible Cadillac in 1955 in Lawrence, Kansas. This is not new things going on in Lawrence, Kansas. They've been cheating and paying players for a good half a century.
Yeah, I mean, well, because you asked people, like, who the hell would want to go to KU, like Kansas, out of anywhere in the United States?
As well.
Lawrence, Kansas. Like, I would rather go to frickin' San Antonio, like a shitty school down there, if we're just talking about region and place to be. But when the money's involved,
this offseason, I did watch that HBO special, Chernobyl. And I got to tell you, if you live in Chernobyl, I might go to Kansas.
I would say on Lawrence, though.
The radiation.
I feel like
it's
over Lawrence any day.
Yeah, it's a lateral move. Probably.
Yeah, sure.
John's a Kansas State fan too. Somehow he's a Mizzou and K-State fan. So,
well, and I feel bad for him because Kansas State is going to get a drumming this year as well. I mean, that Kansas State.
They're basically second Mizzou, if I'm going to be honest. Both teams are just a cesspool of heartbreak. I mean, we got a Big 12 win actually, but even then, there's so many parallels there.
There's going to be 6 total wins in Kansas this year between the two schools. It's going to be.
And the Big 12 only gets 3 non-con games too. And fun fact, K-State has to play Mississippi State in one of them. So if we can get one conference win, I'll be thrilled.
If the Jayhawks get 4 wins.
Here's how you know Kansas State and Mizzou, neither one are blue chip football. I mean, it's just that Mizzou's ready to build a statue of Gary Pinkel, and Gary Pinkel's had a lot of good, sustained success, but he is not statue worthy if you're at Alabama or LSU. And the same with Bill Schneider. Like, I listen to a lot of sports talk radio out of Kansas City, and I'm so sick of hearing about Bill Schneider. I'm like, this guy went to he had one season where he really fucking did something important, and he was consistently won games for a while. and they're ready to build a statue to him. I'm like, listen, this is an indictment of your program if Bill Schneider is the statue guy. And I would say that about Mizzou too with Pinkel. Like, Bear Bryant gets statues. You know what I mean? Like, Nick Saban's going to get a fucking statue.
Deserves
Gary Pinkel and Bill Schneider are good coaches, but they're not statue coaches.
There's only a few
Despite
statue
what Mizzou
coaches.
and Kansas State fans think.
There's Saban. I'd say Dabo Sweeney's probably going to get one. I mean, that dude is.
He still needs to do more.
I don't give a shit.
Two national titles?
He's turned Clemson's
That's
franchise up.
statue-worthy.
Like,
Well, listen, I will say this: if you win a national title, you're statue worthy. And I know that sounds like
I agree. I agree.
Like if you win a national title, LSU or Mizzou or whoever wins the national title for your team,
you're getting a statue.
But like Gary Pinkel and Bill Schneider are neither one on that list.
No, and like
now, I'm not saying you can't have the Gary Pinkel locker room. No, fuck no. Norm Stewart's got his name on the court, and that's as much as he should hope for.
No, but it's like
not like Norm Stewart. I love Storm and Norman, but he didn't win dick.
One title though, I agree. One title is like enough because like think about it as a professional level. If the Chiefs won one, they could build a fucking statue of Andy Reid at every block around Kansas City.
Of course, I mean, because at the end of the day, I'm like, we get sort of desensitized to this because the Alabamas are the win most titles and the Patriots are the titles. But at the end of the day, winning a national championship is a big fucking deal. Winning a Super Bowl is a big fucking deal, and it doesn't happen all that often. And if you do it, you deserve your statue.
Does Ned Yost deserve a statue?
I mean,
I would say yes.
No, that is a fucking brain buster, man. That's a good question.
If could be a statue of him bunting.
Personally,
yeah, he's
but
like
my opinion is that if Dick Hauser didn't get one, then he probably should. I mean, listen, Ned was he's done some good things as manager, but he's also done some things that make you question your fandom of the Kansas City Royals.
I will say that this about Ned and baseball in general, and that is a manager has so much less to do with the championship in my mind than like a GM does in baseball. Like there's a team building, program building aspect to baseball that a manager doesn't really have any say over. Whereas like if you're Dabo Sweeney, you're building it.
Yeah.
And if you're Andy Reid and you're the GM, you're the head coach, but you're also the GM. Yeah. Like you are the one building that program. And then you think about Ned Yost, you go, wow, he had a great bullpen and he had the right players in the right time. I mean, fuck, anybody could have done what Ned Yost did in the playoffs. He's like, hey, I've got these three guys. They're unhittable. If I can just get to the seventh inning with a lead, it's fucking push button. You know what I mean? Like, and half the time they're winning in spite of him. Like, why is fucking Alcides Escobar batting 1? The guy bats fucking 211. You know,
it did work though.
Dick. It did work, but I'm saying it probably could have worked better. That's my thing about Ned Yost.
Probably, but I mean, I also agree that like Escobar wasn't like the numbers didn't look that good, but for some reason when he hit leadoff, shit happened. Like inside the park home run on the first. I don't know, but
my thing is like Ned Yost was just mired in this. Like Brendan kind of alluded to it with the bunting. It's like, Ned, it's not 1974. You just don't bat the fastest guy on your team first because that's the way baseball played. It's not played that way anymore. There's a whole fucking office in your building that does statistics and analysis to tell you who should be batting first, and you're going to ignore them because in 1974 you made the fastest guy first.
Yeah, and I mean that's what Tampa's been doing with like all the advanced analytic bullshit. They've started like with the opener. Like that's a management that is actually doing something.
Yeah,
what Ned is doing is throwing out the same old motherfuckers and be like, oh shit, we lost again. I mean I
guess with Ned, I would give Ned the statue. I'm not going to tear a statue down. If they want to give Ned a statue, I'll take it. But
I'd rather see a player like Perez get it. But
Perez isn't even retired.
Perez say this.
Perez won the MVP though.
I guess I will couch it in this way. You get a statue in college sports at basketball, football.
What was that?
You get one in football either way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get one in football either way, and I mean, and also it's not in a vacuum either. Like the Dallas Cowboys don't give Barry Switzer a statue because they win lots of championships.
Yeah. I mean,
whoever wins the fucking Browns from that first championship, they're going to build a statue and they're making it of gold.
They're not going to build them a statue. They're going to rename the city.
They're going to rename a city. They're going to rename the city. They're going to make it Baker Mayfield Arena.
Bakerville.
Yeah, they're going to change that shit. But yeah, I mean, like, honestly, I don't give a shit. If Mizzou were to win a national title in either football or basketball, you can make a statue of every motherfucker on that team. I don't give a shit.
Well, that's my stance on the Royals, too. I mean, I think it's really, like, subjective. Because we talked about, like, Saban getting a statue, like, one title at Bama is nothing compared to one title at Mizzou. That's
No.
like, it just doesn't add up at all.
Yeah, he's
Sure.
and that's if you went and won one title at Alabama, you don't get a statue because Bear Bryant won a fucking baker's dozen or whatever. I mean, so, but you when you're Saban, if you want a shitload of them, then you're going to get your statue. And like Barry Switzer fell into fucking Jimmy Johnson's team and won a national championship or Super Bowl Cowboys, and everybody knew that was Jimmy Johnson, and he got in a pissing contest with the owner and he lost his job, and Barry Switzer got to fucking skate in and win a Super Bowl. But nobody's building a statue of that guy.
No.
Because everybody knows that was Jimmy Johnson's team, and Jimmy Johnson already won a couple Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Facts.
All right.
And I'm a Cardinals fan.
Ooh.
I was about to say.
Well,
So-
I mean, listen, I might get a lot of hate for this, but I don't hate the Cardinals as much as a lot of Kansas City fans do.
No, I hate them. I straight up hate them.
My preseason prediction for the World Series was Yankees Cardinals, and the Cardinals are making me look like a complete dipshit right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, you
So-
Well,
are.
I'm the kind of baseball fan that everybody hates. I like the Royals and I like the Cardinals, and really, but who I'm watching is just depending on winning. Like,
I
just-
definitely-
So you're watching the Cardinals?
I'm watching
Additionally,
the Cardinals right now, but I'm gonna tell you what, when nobody was watching more Royals baseball when they were going to the World Series than I was. I mean, I
Man.
was watching and listening and
Us
following like
three.
crazy.
Well, I mean, we grew up in the middle of the country, which is a different dynamic. You know what I mean? Because we are equally distant from Kansas City and St.
Right.
Louis, so it was
They're
kinda
literally
take
in
your
the
pick.
middle.
Yeah, so you can kind of take your pick. And
Well, and when I got out of
Shit.
college, I got a job where I had to drive around, and I just listened to Kansas City Sports Talk Radio because it's what came in, and whatever the radio sucked, and whatever was on the radio sucked, so I'd listen to sports talk all day long out of Kansas City, and I got to know the football or their baseball team. You know what I mean? I was like, and I remember when Moustakis and Hosmer, all these guys were in the minors, and they kept talking about how great they were going to be, and then I heard it when they made their debuts, and they went in. I was with them for like a decade, so
yeah,
it was hard. It was easy to root for them. And it wasn't because I liked them more than the Cardinals, but I didn't listen to the Cardinals. There was no Sports Talk Radio St. Louis coming in on my AM dial.
yeah, that's facts. Yeah, I mean
hey,
the
we have
Royal.
Oh,
Yeah, what's
go
up?
ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was gonna switch gears on you, so if you got more to say.
No, do it. I was just gonna say some more nonsense.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to plug ourselves because we're going to have another podcast besides the Mizzodcast, and
I
we're going
totally
to cover
forgot
the
about
SEC. SEC After Dark is the name of the podcast. We're going to be launching it this football season. We're going to try to encapsulate all of the crazy SEC teams instead of just our Mizzou Tigers. So anybody who's a big Mizzodcast fan, or if you want to be,
Armchair All-American.
yeah, we're part of the Armchair All-Americans podcast network. So
Yeah, they
we're
asked
launching
us to
this-
do it. That's why we're doing it. They have podcasts all around the country. They recruited us to be in their network. Agreed to do it. After last year, they said, "Would you do the SEC?" And so we're going to.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes, but we want to get the word out there because we haven't started yet. So our listening audience is 0 currently. So we'd like to get that to 2.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
That's
We'll
why
try to get it to
perfect reason
3.
to come here.
Yeah, we count on you guys for 2.
Yeah.
We know
Yeah, I
John's
mean-
not going to show up.
Yeah, John's a little
John,
bitch.
okay, I'm not gonna lie. This
There's
is
a reason
John,
nobody likes him.
This is John's
Aw,
third
man.
podcast.
Mhm.
John didn't do a podcast for a good month and a half.
What a
Sure.
dick.
What?
Yeah, it's because what a dick move, John.
Yeah.
I gotta
don't know
ask.
what to say,
How,
it's just my nature.
I gotta ask how is it? It's gonna be painful to cover teams like Arkansas and Tennessee, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll just be like the Feinbaum show. We're not going to talk about much, except to make fun of them.
And we'll probably try to get people on who maybe know more about them than we do, who at least don't hate them as we do. No, I think it will be a little bit hard not to tamp down our
But
hatred of Tennessee. I think we can tamp down our Mizzou loyalty because we are going to do a Mizzou show where we can talk all we want about the Tigers. But
Yeah.
it'll be hard to talk about Tennessee without just sticking
it's
our
after
finger in our eye.
dark though, so right.
Yeah, SEC After Dark, so it's going to be
I mean,
naughty.
You can.
We got a Twitter handle, too.
What
I
is
think,
it?
what is it, Brennan?
It's SEC After Dark. I think it's actually SEC After because After Dark was too long or something. I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
got it. We're your
yeah,
65th
yeah.
follower. There you go.
at SEC After. Yeah. But Anyway, it should be good. It'll be a lot. The format's going to be a lot like the Mizzodcast. If you guys do listen to the Mizzodcast, we're gonna talk about every week everything that went on with the SEC teams. We're gonna have news of the South instead of Kansas news, so it's gonna broaden it out to the entire SEC region. Yeah, so I think we're gonna have Caleb the Greek making his picks like we do on the Mizzodcast, because that's a popular segment. So
we'll go around the horn.
You have to have a fake coach,
Paul
Oregon or whatever.
Ogeron,
yeah, whatever he is.
Oh, Paul Feinbot will come along. He goes wherever I go.
We are definitely going to steal as much of things that seem to work on the Mizzodcast and bring it over. Because theoretically, we're thinking that a lot of the people listening to SEC After Dark won't have ever heard the Mizzodcast, so they won't know that we're just being lazy and stealing material from our existing show.
Hell yeah.
We're stealing material, but it's ours.
Yeah, so I mean,
that's right.
No,
we also
no
expect it to get creative and original as it goes on, because a lot of the stuff we do now on the Mizzodcast, we didn't start doing it. It sort of developed over time,
The the interviews, and I mean, when we first started the Mizzodcast, we used to play a lot of games. Like and we kind of fell away from doing that as we did more fake interviews with players and coaches.
Fake.
I mean,
I thought
those were 100% real.
Yeah, what?
Coach
Fake?
on the Miss Oscars.
What's that? Yeah, so
Coach Odom doesn't get hammered with the staff?
Oh no, Coach Odom.
Oh, he does.
Colin's talking about something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm talking about Sally Barrett.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, who had the really good? Who was spot on with his standings? Was it you, Colin, or was it Caleb?
No, that was Caleb the Greek. He gave the picks. And he with Barrett, Sally. They matched on the. Yeah.
This is inside baseball. If you don't listen to our show, you don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I think that's gonna wrap it up. We really appreciate you guys coming on again.
Yeah, we enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right. We will.
Can't wait for football season, boys.
You can't.
That's right.
It's gonna be interesting. We'll keep in touch. We'll have some rants. I guarantee you, it'll be there.
We will be calling in.
All right, MIZ boys.
ZOU.
Hell yeah, ZOU.
All right, we'll see you guys on Tuesday.